Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
We were discussing about the different organelles, then the features of cell envelope in prokaryotes. So some of the organelles also we discussed. Who is going to tell me about ribosomes? Anna Viju, what did we discuss about ribosomes in our previous class?
They are associated with plasma membrane.
Okay. Reading. Anna, are you reading? Ditto sentence I got. That's why I asked. Are you reading? Don't read. Read and say.
Several.
Oh, used to do no in between.
Size is 15 nanometer to 20. 15
Okay.
to 20.
Then, okay, Rijas can continue. What else we learned about ribosomes?
Site of protein synthesis.
Ribosomes are the site of protein synthesis. We also discussed about mesosome. Where can you find mesosome, Steffi? Where do you find mesosome? What are they?
It is a membranous structure formed in the cytoplasm.
Extensions of membrane or infolding of the plasma membrane into the cell. And we learned that mesosomes can be in different shapes. 3 shapes we discussed. What are they, Steffi? Steffi thought my turn is over. Which shapes?
Disc shaped.
But there was a specific name for that. Who can help? Vidur?
Lamellae.
Lamellae?
Tubular.
Oh?
Tubulous.
No, you are just saying the shape, but there is a specific name for those shapes. Gayatri? Lamellae is correct. Then?
Tubules and form of
tubules and one more.
Form of vesicles.
Which one they are missing out? Who will say? Malavika?
Vesicles, tubules and lamellae.
Tubules and lamellae. Vidur, what are those 3?
Vesicles, tubules and lamellae.
Okay. So let us continue. Inclusion bodies. Now next what we are going to learn is about inclusion bodies. So inclusion bodies are reserve material in prokaryotic cell. And as the name suggests, reserve material, something which is getting stored in the cytoplasm. So it is stored in the form of inclusion bodies, reserve material. So all the materials which need to be stored, they will be present in the form of inclusion bodies. I'll repeat, the reserve material in prokaryotic cell is stored in the cytoplasm as inclusion bodies. And these inclusion bodies, they don't have any membrane covering. As such, in prokaryotes, there are no membrane bound organelles. So they are not bound by any membrane. They're freely scattered in the cytoplasm. So examples include phosphate granules, synophysin granules, glycogen granules. So synophysin granules, actually, they are starch granules. So these are the different inclusion bodies normally found in or commonly found in prokaryotic cells. Then there are certain vacuoles too, which are found in these prokaryotic organisms. We call it as gas vacuoles. Gas vacuoles, they are meant to provide them buoyancy. You know what is meant by buoyancy? That gives them the buoyancy to move in water bodies and all. It is found in gas vacuoles are found in blue-green algae, purple color algae, green photosynthetic. Blue-green algae means cyanobacteria. Blue-green algae, then purple-green photosynthetic bacteria. You know that majority of the bacteria, they have chlorophyll and they can carry out photosynthesis. So these gas vacuoles are found in blue-green, purple and green photosynthetic bacteria. I'll repeat once again. We discussed about inclusion bodies. These are the reserve material present in the cytoplasm, scattered in the cytoplasm of prokaryotic cells. And these include granules of phosphate, cyanophysin, and glycogen. And they are freely scattered without any membrane covering it. And apart from that, gas vacuoles also can be found scattered in the prokaryotic cells of blue-green, purple, and green photosynthetic bacteria. Now moving on to nucleoid. Nucleoid is similar to the nucleus, or the functionally they are same. Structural differences are there. Nucleoid is the genetic material found in prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, we call it as nucleus, because in eukaryotes, the genetic material, whether it is DNA or RNA, they are covered by a well-developed nuclear membrane, and you call it as a well-defined nucleus. Whereas in case of prokaryotes, they don't have a well-defined nucleus, or a nuclear membrane is absent. Instead, they have a nuclear region consisting of nucleic acids. And such an undefined nuclear region, we call it as nucleoid. Nucleoid is found in prokaryotes. It's made up of non-membranous circular genomic DNA. Single chromosome, it can be one chromosome, or just a genetic material not organized into chromosome and protein. So nucleoid consists of nucleic acids or chromosome or genetic material associated along with proteins. And apart from the chromosomal DNA, some of the bacteria, many of them, they have circular DNA. So chromosomal DNA will be there. In the figure it is shown. They have the main chromosomal DNA, that is this one. Apart from that, you can see some circular DNA also. You call them as plasmid. So apart from or outside the main or the chromosomal DNA, they have some circular DNA. You call it as plasmid. And plasmids are of great use in biotechnology. So these plasmid, or this particular genetic material, they can carry foreign DNA. And we call them as vectors also. Details you will learn next year. Plasmids, we call them as vector, plasmid vector, because they are capable of carrying a foreign DNA and they are used for carrying out different techniques in genetic engineering or biotechnology, which you will learn in detail in our next year. It confers or it provides characteristics like resistance to antibiotics to bacteria, and they also monitor the bacterial transformation with foreign DNA. So they can accept a foreign DNA, and once it accepts this DNA, the transformation of the bacteria or presence of the foreign DNA can bring about transformation in DNA. So it will monitor the bacterial transformation. So bacteria is said to be transformed when bacteria are said to be transformed when it receives a foreign DNA. So this plasmid will monitor bacterial transformation with foreign DNA, and it is also responsible for providing some special unique features like resistance to antibiotics. You will be learning in detail in class 12 about plasmid and its applications in the field of biotechnology. So I'll repeat it once again. Nucleoid is the Nucleoid is the genetic material found in prokaryotes. They don't have a well-defined nuclear membrane. Instead, they have just some nucleic acid, can be a single chromosome or genetic material. And these are closely associated with them with some proteins, negatively charged DNA and positively charged proteins. And some of them, apart from this main chromosomal DNA or nucleoid, apart from that, many of the bacteria, they have extra chromosomal circular DNA. You call it as plasmid. And plasmid, two functions of plasmid are given here. One is that it will monitor the transformation of bacteria upon receiving a foreign DNA, and also imparts some unique features like resistance to antibiotics in bacteria. Any doubt, children? So more about plasmids next class, next year you will learn. So with that, we have completed prokaryotic cells. Now we are going to learn about eukaryotic cells. Any doubt in what we have covered? Any point you want me to repeat, or any slide you want to see again?
Yes. The last point.
The last point. Okay. Plasmid is extra chromosomal DNA. As you can see in the figure, nucleoid, that is a chromosomal DNA. Apart from that small blue color shapes you can find. Circular, extra chromosomal circular DNA. And the features of this particular DNA is that they can provide unique features like antibiotic resistance in bacteria, and also monitors the transformation of bacteria upon receiving a foreign DNA. Yes? Eukaryotic cells. It includes protists, plants, animals, and fungi. So hope you are remembering the different kingdom. Protista. Monera we completed. Bacteria comes under. Bacteria are included under prokaryotes. So Monera is over. Then Protista, Plantae, Animalia, and fungi. So eukaryotic cells eukaryotes include protists, plants, animals, and fungi. And several membrane-bound organelles. You couldn't find any membrane-bound organelles in prokaryotic cells, but here several membrane-bound organelles are present, and about each one you'll be learning in detail. A well-organized nucleus. Nucleus is said to be well organized because they have a well-defined nuclear membrane with a proper nuclear envelope or nuclear membrane. Genetic material is organized into chromosomes. Genetic material normally that you have learned, when a cell is not dividing, this nucleus or nuclear material will be in the form of an entangled thread-like network. Class 8 you have learned. It looks like a network of threads. So when a cell is not dividing, suppose this is a cell, inside the cell, the nucleus will be like a entangled thread-like network when it is not taking part in any cell division. And you call it as chromatin fibers. But when the cell is about to divide, chromatin fibers will condense. They become thick and form what do you call as chromosomes. Okay? They form chromosomes. Genetic material is organized into chromosomes. Your chromosomes are present. The number of chromosomes. See, in prokaryotes, we said either as nuclear material, genetic material, or single chromosome is found. Here, more than one chromosomes can be seen. have a complex locomotory and cytoskeleton structures. So they have a complex locomotory. For the movement, they have complex locomotory structures and cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton means scattered in the cytoplasm. There'll be a network of filaments, tubules, etc., which makes up the skeleton of the cell. So they have complex locomotory and cytoskeleton structures. Cytoskeleton includes the different tubules and filaments scattered in the cytoplasm. And plant cell, if you compare the plant cells with the animal cells, in case of plant cells, they have a cell wall. Cell wall forms the outermost boundary in plant cell, whereas in animals, the outermost boundary is plasma membrane, cell wall is absent. Whereas in plants, they have a rigid cell wall, they have plastids and a central vacuole, a large central vacuole. But these are absent in animal cells. So some major differences between plant and animal cell is that in plant cell, there is a cell wall, a rigid cell wall. Plasma membrane is flexible. And rigid cell wall is found covering the plasma membrane in plant cells, whereas in animal cells, only plasma membrane is found. Then plastids. Plastids are organelles which contain pigments. So chloroplast is an example for a plastid. Chromoplast, chloroplast, leucoplast, you've learned, isn't it, in class 9? So plastids are organelles which contain different pigments which will impart color to different parts of the plant. Plastids are absent in animal cells. Then about the vacuoles. In animal cells also vacuoles are present, but their number will be more and size will be less. They'll be smaller in size when compared to the vacuoles in plants. But in plant cells, vacuoles are less in number, but they'll be very large. And they have a centrally placed vacuole. And because of the centrally placed vacuole, the nucleus will be shifted towards one side. See, here is the nucleus. So this is a vacuole. So because of the large central vacuole, nucleus will be shifted to one side. Whereas in animal cells, they have only small vacuoles. So larger vacuoles are generally absent in animal cells. So these are some major differences between plant and animal cells. Then animal cells, they have centrioles. About centrioles, you will be learning towards the end of this chapter. So centrioles are present in animal cells, whereas centrioles are absent in plant cells. Now, you might be thinking, what is the role of centrioles? Centrioles will provide or they will produce some structures known as spindle fibers. I don't think you have heard, you've learned about it. Spindle fibers. So spindle fibers will help in the alignment of chromosomes at the time of cell division. Anyway, in the next chapter, when you learn about cell division, you will understand the role of spindle fibers. So for the time being, you just understand that it is from the centrioles, spindle fibers will be produced, and these spindle fibers help in the alignment of chromosomes. Chromosomes will get attached to the spindle fibers. They play a very important role in cell division, which you will learn in next chapter. So just understand, spindle fibers are produced from centrioles. These centrioles are present in animal cells but absent in plant cells. So plant cells also produce spindle fibers, but they have a different way, or it is not from centrioles that they produce spindle fibers, so which you will learn later. Okay, I'll repeat once again. We discussed about some of the differences between plant and animal cells. We learned that in plant cell wall is present. Cell wall is present, plastids are found, and large central vacuole. So these three features we learned about our plant cells, but they are absent in animal cells. Cell wall completely absent, plastids also absent. Large vacuole is absent, but smaller vacuoles are found. Then animal cells, they have centrioles from where spindle fibers are produced. Whereas in plant cells, centrioles are absent. Centrioles are not there, but they also need spindle fibers to carry out cell division. But that they will produce by some other means. They have some special microtubules which will help them to produce spindle fibers. So you just understand that in animal cells, centrioles are present, but they are absent in plant cells. Is it clear? Yes or no, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, we'll be starting with cell membrane. So before we proceed to cell membrane, quickly tell me the basic features of eukaryotic cells that we already discussed. Malavika, I'll start from you.
They have inclusion bodies.
Eukaryotic cells.
They are the reserve material. Eukaryotic, ma'am. Sorry. They include protists, plants, animals, and fungi.
Eukaryotes include protists, plants, animals, and also fungi. Meenakshi.
Membrane-bound organelles.
They have membrane-bound organelles. Donam.
Ma'am, well-organized nucleus with nuclear envelope.
The proper nuclear envelope. Naureen.
Genetic material is organized into chromosomes.
Then Gayatri.
The eukaryotic plant cell is different from animal cells by.
One more point we said, no, they have complex.
They have complex locomotory and cytoskeleton.
Okay, then Punya, what are the differences we discussed between plant and animal cells?
Plant cells have cell wall while it is absent in animal cells. Then animal cells have centrioles, which is absent in plant cells. Then organelles with pigments, and there are pigments in plant cells and absent in animal cells.
We too have pigment, but what is absent in us?
Plastids.
Plastids. Okay, then one more point was there, no, about the vacuole.
It is large and central in plants and small and mini in animals.
Okay, good. So we'll continue.
Ma'am.
Oh.
It is locomotory and cytoskeleton structures.
Ah, yes. Next, we are going to learn about the cell membrane or plasma membrane in eukaryotic cells. It's made up of a lipid bilayer, lipid fat bilayer, 2 layers. It's made up of 2 layers of lipids with the polar hydrophilic. Hydrophilic is water loving. Hydrophobic is not water loving. Okay. Hydrophilic head will be pointed towards the outer side and the hydrophobic tail will be towards the inner side. So what you see as matchsticks over here, this is the lipid layer. This is the lipid layer. So this is one layer, this is a second layer. And you can find it's having 2 ends. So this part is the head. It's a hydrophilic polar or water loving part, whereas the tail is hydrophobic. It's not water loving, it's non-polar. Okay, so it is having fatty acid tail. So the lipid molecules constitute 2 layers. The plasma membrane or cell membrane is made up of 2 layers of lipids. So you call it as lipid bilayer, and the lipids are having a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail. And if you check, you can find that the hydrophilic end is facing the outer side and the hydrophobic tail is pointed towards the inner side. So thus, or in this way, this arrangement will facilitate the non-polar hydrophobic tail to get protected from the aqueous or water, the environment containing water. So in order to protect the hydrophobic tail from water, they are arranged in this way, with the hydrophobic tail pointing towards the inner side and the hydrophilic head is facing the outer side. So cell membrane or plasma membrane in animals and plants, in all the eukaryotic cells, they consist of a double layer, a bilayer of lipids. And how are these lipids arranged? They are arranged in such a way that the hydrophobic tail is towards the inner side and hydrophilic head is towards the outer side. This arrangement will protect the non-polar hydrophobic tail from water or from aqueous environment. Proteins and carbohydrates. So apart from lipids, proteins and carbohydrates are also found in the cell membrane. So cell membrane is made up of mainly lipids, but along with the lipids, proteins as well as carbohydrates can be found. The lipid component, the lipid is mainly phosphoglycerides. So the lipid, when you say the lipid bilayer, it is made up of, or it consists of the lipid component, that is phosphoglycerides. So phosphoglycerides constitute the lipid component. So apart from the lipids, you can find proteins and carbohydrates. So what you need to know is that plasma membrane in eukaryotic cells is made up of mainly lipids which form a double layer. And how are they arranged? They are arranged in such a way that the hydrophilic head is facing the outer side and the hydrophobic tail is directing towards the inner side. Then are the lipids only the constituents of plasma membrane? No. Along with lipids, they have even proteins as well as carbohydrates. And the lipid component is mainly phosphoglycerides. Any doubt? Whether it is yes or no, I want to hear you.
No doubt.
Okay. So next, here you can see the pictures of two scientists, Singer and Nicholson. And it was Singer and Nicholson who proposed a fluid mosaic model for plasma membrane. They suggested a fluid mosaic model for plasma membrane. So let's learn the details. Depending upon, so before we proceed to the fluid mosaic model, depending upon the ease of extraction, I already told you proteins as well as carbohydrates are found scattered in the plasma membrane. So those proteins present, you can categorize into two based on the ease of extraction. How easily they can be extracted out, they can be removed out. You can categorize them into membrane proteins, integral proteins and peripheral proteins. Membrane proteins means the proteins found in the membrane. So they can be categorized into two types, integral and peripheral. Now let's see the difference between integral and peripheral. So the explanation is in the term itself, integral. It's incorporated. It's partially or totally buried in the membrane. It is fully inserted or embedded in the membrane, whereas periphery, you can find them like on the surface. So here in the picture, it is clear. See the figure. Let me take a different coloring. Okay. So here you can find these are peripheral proteins. Peripheral proteins means they are not deeply arranged, or they are not embedded in the membrane. They are attached to the surface. So this you can call as peripheral proteins, whereas those which are completely embedded or arranged inside, you can call them as integral membrane proteins. All these are fully inserted, or they are a part of the membrane, not just attached to the surface. They are fully or partially buried in the membrane. So that is the difference between integral proteins and peripheral proteins. So plasma membrane or cell membrane is made up of different molecules. It includes lipids, then proteins, and carbohydrates. About lipids, we discussed how they are arranged, how many layers are there, all that we have discussed. So next is about proteins. The proteins present or found in plasma membrane can be categorized into two. What is the criteria for classifying them? The ease of extraction, how easily they can be removed. Surface proteins can be easily removed, or peripheral proteins, you can easily extract it out, whereas it is difficult to extract out the integral membrane proteins because they are fully buried in the membrane. So there are two types: peripheral and integral membrane proteins. Peripheral membrane proteins, they are attached to the surface of the membrane, whereas integral membrane proteins are either partially or completely buried in the membrane. And here comes a fluid mosaic model proposed by Singer and Nicholson. So they suggested a quasi-fluid nature of lipids. According to them, the lipid bilayer, which is an important constituent of the cell membrane, is having a quasi-fluid, a semi-fluid nature. Because of the semi-fluid nature, the proteins can move laterally within this bilayer. It's not fixed. You know, as such, cell wall is a rigid layer, whereas plasma membrane is a flexible layer. And what provides them the flexibility? The semi-fluid nature of these lipids. So the lipids, they are not very firm. Instead, they have a semi-fluid nature. So because of the semi-fluid nature of these lipids, the proteins present in this, in between this lipid bilayer, can move laterally. It is easy for them to move laterally, and this provides flexibility to the plasma membrane. So that was the proposition of Singer and Nicholson. They suggested a fluid mosaic model. As per the fluid mosaic model, plasma membrane is having a semi-fluid nature for the lipids present, which will enable the proteins present to move freely or to move laterally. What do you mean by fluidity? Fluidity is the measure of the ability of the membrane to allow movement within itself. So in terms of that, if you check, you will understand that plasma membrane is having a fluid nature. It's having fluidity. What is fluidity? It's the measure of the ability of the membrane. It's the ability of the membrane to provide movement within itself. Once again, fluidity of the membrane is a measure of the ability of the membrane to allow movement within itself. And this fluid nature is having so much of significance. So this will promote cell division, cell growth, forming intercellular junctions. We discussed about different cellular junctions in the previous chapter. And secretion, for the secretion, endocytosis. You know that amoeba can carry out endocytosis. When it comes in contact with the food particle, they can engulf. It's because of the flexibility of the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane can fold inwards and they can form a food vacuole. So the fluidity of the plasma membrane plays a very important role in cell division, cell growth, forming intercellular junctions, secretion, and also endocytosis. In 9th standard, you have learned about endocytosis, engulfing food particle. So that is possible only because the plasma membrane is flexible. If it is very rigid and stiff, that will not be possible. Is it clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, children? No doubt.
Last point.
The functions.
Fluid nature membranes, important cell division, cell growth.
The fluid nature of this plasma membrane will enable different functions to be carried out in the cell, like cell growth, cell movement, then endocytosis, secretion, formation of intercellular junctions. All that will be facilitated, all that will be enhanced. These functions will be facilitated by the fluid nature of plasma membrane. Yes? So next class, when we see today itself, one more period is there. So I'll be asking questions based on what we covered this period. Yes?
Ma'am, the fluid mosaic model shows that the quasi-fluid nature.
Fluid. Semi-fluid, not very fluidy, but semi-fluid nature. Quasi-fluid means semi-fluid nature. So because of that semi-fluid nature, the proteins can move within this lipid bilayer. Okay. So now I don't have time to ask review questions. So next period when we meet, I'll be asking questions based on what I covered this period. Okay, children. So till next period, bye.